Did I over-explain it enough? No. And then, it was great. I loved it. Listen to music like a normal person? I'm going to try to change the way I read, and we will see how it works out for me. Here's the plan. You may already know, but my reading style currently is pretty chaotic. I like to read a lot of things at once. Basically, I'll have an audiobook going, a physical book going, usually an ebook, and then a lot of times I'll end up picking up another physical book and another, because frankly, I'm kind of flaky. There's too many things that look interesting to me, so I pick them all up at once, and then I'm reading 20 things at a time. A lot of times I'll just be casually reading something in the background, and then once it gets interesting enough, then it'll be my main read, but I'll still probably have 2 or 3 books going on at the same time too. I like reading that way. I really don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I know a lot of y'all read that way too, and you enjoy it too. Nothing wrong with it. However, I have noticed that when I have a book that really captures my attention and that it's my only focus, it's all I read, and I just burn through it because it's the only thing I'm doing with my time, I tend to feel far more immersed in that book. It sticks with me longer. I have a very bad memory and I forget details on books quickly, but books like that oftentimes will stick with me longer. I feel more immersed and I feel more disoriented when I come out of it because I've been so wholly consumed by it. I don't know if that's just because I loved the book or if it is because it was my main focus. However, most books that I want to read, either my library or Scribd, have them on audiobook, which makes things very, very accessible to me. So what I'm going to attempt to do is I'm going to attempt to wholly focus on one book, close it out, and then wholly focus on another book, close it out, and so on and so forth. The only exception is going to be Hunter x Hunter because I'm almost caught up with Hunter x Hunter, and I'm reading it online anyway. It's not a physical read, and I read a couple chapters every day. I'm gonna keep reading that, just a couple chapters every day, and then wholly focus on other things, Fruits Basket included. Whenever it's time for me to read Fruits Basket, I'm going to wholly focus on one collector's edition, however many volumes this technically is. I'm gonna read one of these, and then I'll move on to something else. Did I over-explain it enough? No. And then for the audiobook, instead of having a separate audiobook going whenever I close the physical book, I'll just make sure that I stop at the end of a chapter so that I can start at the beginning of a new chapter of the audiobook and start listening. This may not work for me. I may find that I hate this and I may revert back to my old ways, and that's fine. I don't care. But I'm gonna try this out. I'm gonna experiment with it, and I'm gonna see if potentially this helps me to maybe enjoy what I'm reading more, even though I love I have a great time reading. I love to read. There's nothing that truly needs to change, but I wonder, it's really just a curiosity thing. I wonder if reading in this new way will help me to enjoy things even more because I'm more immersed, because I'm more completely focused and not, bouncing around in a bunch of different worlds. If I like it, I'll keep with it. If I don't, I won't. Doesn't really matter. So, now that I've said all that, my current read, what was it called? I can't think of the name right now. This one, I can't find anywhere. I was reading it last night before bed and it's disappeared from my life. I'll find it eventually, but right now she's gone. That's what I'm currently reading. I am almost 3/4 of the way through. So I'm gonna make it my only focus. It's all I'm gonna be reading. I'm gonna finish that out and then I'm going to start something new. Anyway, so I've lost this book. I'm gonna find it, but I want to give you an update on it. I'm gonna tell you a very quick summary of what it is and how I'm enjoying it now, because it will definitely be finished in this vlog. The book's called The Gilded One. I remembered because I'm talking about the plot now. In this world, there are the Gilded Ones. So what they do is they have a ceremony at a certain age. They cut all the women, because only women can be Gilded Ones. They cut them to see how they bleed. If their blood runs red, then they're human. If their blood runs gold, then they're Gilded Ones. If they're Gilded Ones, they're going to be beheaded or burned, or one other way that these people can die. And if they're not killed when their blood is just beginning to run gold, then they will get stronger and then they'll become near immortal. predictably, our protagonist is revealed to be a Gilded One, and then she's, you know, whisked off, and the story truly begins. So what I've felt about the story so far is really interesting concept, interesting setup, but it's taken so long to really get going because we get all this setup and then we get to a new environment where she's learning about who she is and she's having training and her whole life is being turned upside down. She's looking for her mom or trying to understand more about her mom because her mother used to be in this system, used to be in this new location. I don't want to give too much away. So she's trying to pursue knowledge about her mom, as well as trying to get used to this new identity that she has and this new life that she has. So it's been set up and then transition and then set up for the transition, and it's just taken a long time to really get into the meat of the story. Now where I am here, I'm feeling a lot more interested than I have been up to this point. I've been kind of just like wishy-washy about how I feel about it. I'm a lot more interested now. I'm interested to see how this book is gonna finish off. It really seems like the last quarter of the book is going to determine how I feel about the book as a whole because it's just taken so long to really become what it's trying to become. So that's how I'm feeling right now with the Gilded Ones. Next time I see you, I will let you know how I felt about it. Go. Welcome to the vlog. What do you think, kid? Is this spot cool?
Yeah. Can I get wet?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you want to get in the water, Sayla?
No wet.
No wet? Okay. One book down in the new reading method. My library happened to have this audiobook available with no hold, which was awesome. So, it was great. I loved it. The experience of, see, I've been reading this book for, I don't know, 2 weeks, not that long, but it's also not a long book, and it's YA, so the margins are really wide. And I've been reading it just like little piece by little piece as I've also been reading other things, and when I gave it my full focus, went through the audiobook when I was cooking or cleaning, did the physical book whatever I was reading, it was just, I was so much more into it. Now, I think it's important to note though, that this book I was in a better part of it. It's a very slow setup book. It's a lot of building up to the end, and then the end is really intense. So, inconclusive, but so far, I'm digging it. I mean the process. Now let's talk about the book. So I enjoyed this book. I felt very middle of the road, neutral, not really any strong opinions on it at all until about the last quarter of it, and then the last quarter I think delivered. So I mean, it's not a long book. It's a really quick, easy read, but it does have that downside where it is a lot of setup, a lot of buildup, and not like, it's a really interesting world. It's a really interesting concept, this concept of the Gilded Ones and these death shrieks, which are these creatures that come and kill people. And our main character, Decca, she, after she's taken away, after her blood runs gold, she is trained to fight the death shrieks. And her journey of kind of coming into her own and not being ashamed of who she is and not being ashamed of her blood, and rising up to the challenge and really becoming a stronger, more powerful, more assured of herself version of herself was good. It was just a lot of very slow waiting to get into the meat of the story, a lot of building of mysteries, like what are these death shrieks, and the mystery of her mom and what happened to her. There's a character called the White Hands who I really just never knew if I could trust or not throughout pretty much the entirety of this book. So there's a lot of slow build of these questions that are being asked, slow build of the world, slow build of Decca's progress, and then just an avalanche of an ending. And the ending was really good. The friendships were also really good in this book. Decca with the other people that she's fighting alongside and meeting, as she's progressing through this book. I love the friendships, and I really think that as far as these slower parts of the book, the friendships really carried the story, and I'm looking forward to a lot more of that in the sequel. I kind of wish there was even more emphasis on it in this one. There is kind of a low-key romance happening in the background as well. It's very much not a focus of the story. It has little mentionings here and there. It wasn't anything to write home about. This was a buddy read, and the other people in the buddy read, a lot of people were just very unimpressed by this romance, said they wish there wasn't in the book at all. I don't feel that strongly about it. I kind of just feel neutral about it. I don't care that it was there. I don't care that it was if it weren't to be there. I didn't feel attached to it, but it also just, it didn't take over the story, and a lot of times with YA books, a romance will completely take over the plot, and it didn't here, so I'm not too fussed about it. I was very neutral on the book. I was very interested in the book from the beginning because the concepts and the creatures and the things that we're doing are interesting. However, it takes so long for it to really get into the goodness of it that I feel a little bit mixed. I don't feel like I'm dying to get to the sequel right away, but I will read the sequel because I'm excited to see where the story goes. I'm excited to see where the friendships go, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen next after how it ended. Plus, too, I think the author did a really good job with the way she handled violence in the book. It's a very violent book. You know, there's a lot of battles, there's a lot of terrible things happening, not to mention terrible things happening to the Gilded Ones, to these women who their blood runs gold. The stories of what happened to them, the physical and emotional abuse that they went through, the physical and mental abuse that they went to just because of the color of their blood, was, I think, handled really, really well. I think as far as seeing what happened to these girls and seeing how it long-standing affects them, how it affects the decisions that they make and the way that they trust each other and how they can't shake it off. It's a very violent world. It's a very brutal world without any of it being so invasive and so in your face, but we still are looking at it and examining it. So I really think that the way all that was handled was really good in this book too. Generally, I have very positive feelings about it. Some mixed, but mostly positive, and I am going to continue on with the sequel. I also started, after I finished that, I started Lattes and Legends, which is Legends and Lattes? Yeah, Legends and Lattes, which is another buddy read. And I've got this one on audio and ebook, and it's a very cozy book. It follows an orc who has been in battles and has been a mercenary. She's been doing a lot for a lot of years, but she's tired, she's worn down, she's ready to have a simpler life. So she's retired from the orc life, from the battle life, and she's opening up a little coffee shop, and they call it Bean Water in the book. I mean, a lot of people do, because this is completely unheard of in this world of magical creatures. Nobody's heard of coffee, nobody drinks coffee, so she's opening up this coffee shop. People are really kind of not sold on the idea. She starts making lattes. She ends up getting a baker. At least at the part of the book that I'm in, she's just gotten a baker on her team. She's also hired help with the shop who's helping with marketing and making signs and, you know, waiting on tables and all that. And it's just a very cozy story. It has amazing characters. The characters are written so well. I'm easily attached to them. There's not much going on in the story. It's just very chill, very let's hang out in a coffee shop, let's bake some cinnamon rolls, you know. And I don't know, cozy stories aren't my thing, so I am, even though I'm enjoying it, like it's nice, I am worried that I'm going to end up not liking it, even though everybody else in the buddy read is loving it, just because cozy stories aren't my thing. Cozy fantasy I very rarely love. Cozy mysteries, all that, it's not me. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm worried that I'm gonna get tired of it really quickly. But it is really cute, and I am enjoying just hanging out at a coffee shop, and it's short too, so we'll see. That's what I'm reading right now. And then next I will be reading volume 2 of Fruits Basket. So first of all, I finished Legends and Lattes. It was adorable. I loved it. Again, it was a buddy read. One of the common complaints, or one of the only complaints about it, is that it lacked plot, which it did have plot, but it was very minor in the book. And honestly, it's not a complaint of mine. It should be, based off of who I am as a reader. I should be like, all right, just hanging out at a coffee shop, getting to know awesome, amazing characters. It's not good enough. But it was. I really loved these characters. I loved Viv. I loved the other chick. I loved Cal. I loved the baker, whose name I've also forgotten. Terrible with names. I loved everybody. And it was just nice. I just really liked it. And if it were any longer, then I would probably just say, like, what was the point? But because it was so short, I just liked it. I liked hanging out at a coffee shop with some awesome characters, and to the point where when the plot actually really got going and things started escalating, I was thinking, you know, I could do without this. Let's just bake some more. I really enjoyed it. It was very short. It was very cute. I had a good time. I also read Fruits Basket Volume 2, read the whole thing. And here comes the first problem with my new reading plans, my master plan. And that's that I didn't have an audiobook for this. I had to read it all with my eyeballs, which is great. I prefer reading physically. However, what am I supposed to do while I'm cleaning and while I'm cooking and while I'm driving? Listen to music like a normal person? That was pretty much what I did. And it was quite nice. I enjoyed it. But I did also start the 5th book in the Lady Trent series, so I've just barely begun that. I'm on chapter 3. And I don't have that one on ebook, and I can't get it on ebook without paying for it. Like, my library doesn't have it, Scribd doesn't have it, so I guess I'm just gonna listen to it because I don't really want to buy it right now. But I do have the audiobook on Scribd, so I'm listening to that. I also finished Malazan, obviously, but there's no point in talking about it in this video because I did a whole review for it. If you want to know my spoiler-free thoughts, I loved it. Malazan book 3. And I also I've been reading Hunter x Hunter, and I'm at the stopping point. I actually filmed the review for that earlier today. So that will be up tomorrow for you. So that goes up on Friday, so there's really no need for me to update you on that either, because that will be in its own video tomorrow. I forgot to tell you about Fruits Basket. I said I read it, but I didn't tell you about it. I will be talking spoilers because this is volume 2. So if you are not a Fruits Basket reader, then use the timestamps in the description to skip this part. These are spoilers. 1, 2, 3, skip. I kind of keep going back and forth with this series so far, where I'm totally enamored with it. I'm completely in love with what's happening. And then I switch to, maybe I don't love everything about it. It depends on the chapter. Some chapters I'm like not digging what's happening. And then other chapters I'm so into it. One thing that I find weird is the chemistry that I'm noticing. I mean, I mentioned in my last vlog that I love the physical chemistry between the characters, and that's still true, the way they physically interact with each other, and how the way they physically interact with each other is very unique to each character and fits each character very well. I still completely feel that way. However, I don't know what to make of these relationships. It seems like both Kyo and Yuki are into Honda, but then basically almost every member of the Zodiacs that we're introduced to are coming on to her, sometimes like aggressively so, and it's meant to look a little bit inappropriate. Like here. And we have, actually, I could list a lot actually of times where people are being creepy towards Honda, but they're also kind of creepy towards each other. They're also pretty kind of aggressively flirting with each other, and sometimes they're into it and sometimes they're not. I don't know. It's like, I don't know what to make of all this? Are we gonna get into like a love hexagon or something? And the interpersonal relationships, I can't tell if I'm picking up on everything correctly and how this is all going to play out, or if I'm reading too much into certain things. I mean, some things are very, very blatant, like like this, when he just says that Yuki, oh, can you see that? When he just says that Yuki was his first love and just declares his love for him. So it's just like, okay, obviously you're into him. But then there are other times where I'm like, am I picking up on this right? Am I, like, everybody just kind of seems into everybody at the moment, and I don't really know what to make of that. I mean, I enjoy a good romance, but at the moment, I'm not sure how I'm feeling about these dynamics, and I could also just be reading into everything wrong. But then there's like really cute scenes, like when Kyo was saving Honda from those creeps, or when Yuki gave Honda that little hair barrette and was, can you just focus, please? You know what I'm talking about. And then there's also their protectiveness over her when people are being creeps to her and they get really upset. Like when when they found out that Honda spent the last of her money to make them those chocolates, and Kyo was so mad. He was so mad that she didn't have the money for the school trip, and so he had to like bring his anger down, let it go in front of her, and then he tried to just be there for her at the spa day in order to make her feel better. Or like when that one brother, Yuki's brother, was being a creep as a snake, and Yuki was like, skin him alive. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is, right there. My camera died, but this is it. He's so protective over Honda whenever his brother is being a creepo, which he does a lot. Also, we've started to get into these characters' backstories. We just barely touched on what happened to Yuki whenever we met the head of the household, and he was being I don't know, he, like, look at this, whenever he's like getting in his face and saying, why didn't you come home? Why would you be so dismissive? Lately I've become more tolerant, but when you pull something like this, it really hurts me. Maybe you need to be re-educated. And then it shows us that he was kept in a cage, and it was just a taste. It was just a taste of why he's so terrified of this character and what he's been through and what makes him so stoic. But then we got more than just a taste of Momoji. I'm sorry if I'm saying any of these names wrong. I will try. I haven't watched any more of the anime, but I'll try to watch a little bit more and maybe get some of these names down. But whenever we see a little bit of Momoji's backstory, the fact that his mother has forgotten him, because apparently part of this curse of the Zodiacs is that they're born 2 months early, and they take an animal form of some sort when they're born, and typically it turns into a strange baby animal. I wonder about the depths of despair a mother of such a child would feel. In many cases, the mother of a child possessed by such a supernatural being either becomes extremely overprotective or rejects her offspring. In my case, Mama rejected me. So it talks about how his mother went into this mental state, mental unraveling at seeing her child like this, and became very, very sick. And the only thing that made her well was by making her forget him. And in fact, she even said, when she was asked, would you have any regrets? She said, my biggest regret of life has been giving birth to that creature. And Momoji, I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong, overheard her say that. So she chose to have her memory scrubbed, and this panel right here is what did it. I mean, I cried through this whole scene, but this is the panel that did it to me. This, where he's just kneeling down, and he says, I hope I helped Mama. I hope I was able to help Mama. like how much it would hurt as a child to be so wholly rejected by a parent and to be considered a creature at their parents' biggest regret. And that it hurts him so much to be so utterly rejected, yet he hopes that he was able to help her. And there have been a few scenes with this character that have been a little bit, I don't know, that I haven't enjoyed. Like whenever they went to the spa and he was asking to take a bath with Honda and asking to sleep with Honda, and was throwing a fit whenever the boys didn't let him take a bath with her. And at the time that this whole scene went down, we all thought that he was a very young child, and then later we find out that he's a year younger than her. And whenever he's a very young child, it's like, okay, I've seen this humor in One Piece, whatever, I guess. But whenever we find out that he's only a year younger than them, it just left me feeling really icky, because it's like, okay, if you're a year younger than her, then why are you throwing an absolute tantrum that you can't go take a bath with her? Like, you're old enough to understand this. And then it also made me just wonder, why are you acting so young? Why are you acting like a child? And now seeing his backstory, I feel like, yeah, the trauma of that absolute rejection of your mother as a child, yeah, that trauma could potentially really stunt your development mentally and make you like huddle into yourself, into your childhood self, and not, you know, that kind of trauma does sometimes make kids not really able to grow up and stay in this childlike mental state, waiting for their parent to be their parent to them. And I don't know, but I can say that that one hurt real bad. That one got me. Oh, I've been sitting here talking about this for a long time. This is a reading vlog, not a review. Whoops. Let's move forward. So, now we need to talk about what I'm gonna read next. What I like to do, my goal for my life, is to get my buddy reads out of the way at the very beginning of the month, the ones that I've committed to reading with other people. That way, by the end of the month, I can fit in 1 or 2 books that I can mood read. I read whatever I feel like reading. But the problem is, I've successfully done that this month. I have, what, like 10 days left to read, which is enough time for 1 to 2 books, depending on how long they are, but I don't know what I'm in the mood for. So I pulled some books that I've been meaning to get to that I do want to read, and all of them, the audiobook is currently available at my library with no hold. So any of these books I can read with my new method. We have book 2 in the Live Ship trilogy. If I read this, it'll be the last book I read this month because it's thick, but I do actively want to read this. We have Red Country, which I've been wanting to continue on with Abercrombie for a while now, but I just keep putting it off because this is probably his most disliked book from what I can tell. So even though I'm sure I'll still like it because it's still Abercrombie, I don't know, I just keep hesitating. The Magicians, which is one that I've heard such incredibly mixed things on, and one of my good friends who knows my reading taste has told me stay away from this, but I don't know. I kind of just want to know how I'm gonna feel about it, and I own it, so I should read it. And also Bloody Rose, which I don't own physically, but I do own the audiobook because my dad loved the first book, Kings of the Wild, and wanted to read the second book immediately, so I bought him the audiobook because he uses my Audible account, and he's already read it, so I would like to read it. Plus, I'm supposed to be reading it with a friend, so I should maybe get on that so that he can read it. But I don't have it physically, so I'll have to do but Scribd has the ebook, so all of these are an option for me. So basically, I'm just gonna make you decide for me. We have 4 options. Vote in the comments, just tell me what you want me to read, and whatever gets the most votes, that's what I'll read. And if I have time for 2 books this month, then I'll just read the next book that got the most votes until we get into next month when I need to get on my buddy reads again. Oh, I kicked the tripod. So let me know what you want me to read. I so far feel great about my new reading plans. This has been fun. I can't guarantee that I'll stick with it, but I am gonna continue on with it next week. It's been fun.